So, innovation, that's the heart of the conference. Entrepreneurship, what's it about? What kind of mindset do you need? A few months ago, I was on Amazon. Amazon is great when you need things like 2 days ago I needed tripods. Got them the same day for recording our sessions. But what about innovation? Well, a few months ago, I suggested a book, The Innovation Mindset, 8 Essential Steps to Transform Any Industry. And I was just amazed by how interesting and stimulating it was. All sorts of different innovations, and I touched on a few of them. One of the key points here today, and I didn't say it earlier, but I'm going to say it now. Look around the room. Want diversity, age, gender, ethnicity, national origin, background. We are so diverse, we even allowed in some people from Harvard Business School. Can you imagine?
Or law school.
Because we're very
law school.
Pardon me?
Or law school.
Well, law school, okay, let's keep it away from me. I don't want any lawyer jokes, you know what they say about lawyers. 98% of lawyers give all the rest a bad name, so. Anyway, on a serious note though, this is phenomenal, the 8 steps, and everybody can use them in different ways and learn the lessons because the innovations are at the heart of what has built this country in many ways. I just saw statistics, and while number 1 was Israel, number 2 was the United States in terms of percentage of GDP devoted to research and development. And you, the people here today, are at the forefront of that. So, and we have a special offer too, if you sign up for Lorraine Marchand's next book, No Fear, No Failure, you will get a free copy of the book. We're going to give away a few of these if you fill out the form for the survey. So, no fear, no failure. Lorraine Marchand, who's come in from Philadelphia, and is going to transport you all to a place where you can be more successful as innovators, running your business, and improving the world. Lorraine, thank you very much.
All right, well thank you, Alan, for that rousing introduction. I really appreciate it and really have enjoyed this summit so far. We've learned about AI and it as a utility and where it fits into the energy infrastructure, which is fascinating, a little bit about pharmacy benefit managers. And what I want to do now is I want to transport you back in time. Because we spent a lot of time looking forward, I want to take you back in time and let's see what we can learn from the 16th century. Do I have any dragon aficionados in the room? Dragons are very popular these days. Anybody follow dragon movies and TV shows? I have a few nods. All right, my next question, I know that it is an age-old language, but do I have any Latin aficionados in the room? Anybody that knows Latin? All right, Maria, I might be calling on you. So let's get started. The words, "Here be dragons," were a warning and an invitation. Because by the turn of the 16th century, map makers played an increasingly important role in the expansion of commerce, exploration, and knowledge. By then, maps were increasingly accurate, and sailors relied on them for planning and navigating, especially in unfamiliar waters. But no one, not even the map makers, knew the vastness of this world, and there were a lot of uncharted territories. Rather than omitting them, the map makers called them out. And if you go to the New York Public Library, you will find on display the famous 1500 Hunt Lennox globe with a Latin inscription. Mario probably can't see this right now, but it's pronounced Hic sunt draconis, and it says, "Here be dragons." These were the globes that they used, the maps that they used. For some, this was a warning, keep away. But for others, these uncharted territories, these warnings, were a burning invitation. Strange sea creatures were fascinating. What treasures did they protect? These intrepid explorers who ignored the warnings discovered new worlds. If you have the right attitude, the right tools, the right crew, you set sail. If you fear dragons, you didn't leave the port. In the era of AI, so much of what we're talking today, advanced innovation, the map is still being drawn. Clearly, there are a lot of uncharted territories. Let's explore this journey and how you can navigate a successful voyage. For those of us who've spent our careers, I've spent my career in the pharmaceutical industry. Others have spent their lives in healthcare, maybe in finance. I get it. These are highly regulated industries, just like we heard about the PBMs. And human well-being is at stake. Caution feels safe, but inaction is actually riskier. Smart risk-taking is a competitive advantage. I want you to ask anybody in the room if they believe that, especially in our startup showcase this afternoon. You must set a destination. You must leave the harbor. Even though as captain, you may not be able to see that destination for fully 99% of your voyage. Tesla, for example, invested very aggressively in advanced technology to give it a leg up on manufacturing, in effect, leapfrogging their competitors. Atrophy? Think about Nokia, Blockbuster, Kodak, Motorola. Avoiding risk leads to atrophy. We need a plan, and we need to leave the safety of the port, because believe me, others are already on the open water. Based on research that I've conducted, I've learned that there is one big stumbling block to unlocking innovation. Companies hate talking about the F word. It is the word that underpins every email that shoots down a good idea, every discussion around the table that causes somebody's new idea not to be acted upon. Failure. The fear of failure must change, because it is fear, not technology, that will be the #1 reason that innovation or AI doesn't succeed. I wrote No Fear, No Failure based on 120 interviews with executives and senior managers across industries and across the globe, and my own 30-year career as an innovator, executive, author, and educator. What did I learn? Innovation is the key to sustained growth. And it's the leader's job to model the mantra, try, fail, learn, so that every employee brings their best ideas and their best talents to the table. I developed a framework called the 5 C's, and it shows you how you too can apply innovation to drive sustained growth in your organization. Now, our first C is culture. So, central to a culture of innovation is normalizing failure and reframing it as learning. Microsoft's Satya Nadella said, it's going from a know-it-all to a learn-it-all mindset. And once you replace your fixed mindset with a growth mindset, you can't help but innovate. One approach, we've all heard of postmortems. I suggest you conduct a pre-mortem before you even get started on a big project. Sit down and identify where the risks are. Figure out ways that you're going to manage and navigate them as you go along. My personal ritual for embracing try, fail, learn is something that I call Fail-Free Fridays in organizations where I was a leader. Weekly, I would convene my senior team, and we would have an honest discussion about what wasn't working. Harvard's Amy Edmondson calls this intelligent failure, the right kind of wrong because you learn from it. Now, we might ask ourselves, well, whose job is it to lead the culture? CEO Dave Evans of Fictive, a global supply chain company in Silicon Valley, says it best. My job as CEO is not to set budgets, it's not to develop a product roadmap, it's not to hire people, and it's not even to raise capital. Sorry, David. My singular objective is to drive culture. It's all I do. Now, Dave knows he can't influence culture alone, So he leans heavily on what he calls river guides. At sea, we call them the helmsmen. These are the people in your organization who, as they do their job, show others what the culture looks like because they live it every day. My challenge to everyone in the room today, how are you acting in terms of being a culture champion? Take the wheel and be the guide for innovation. The role of the helmsman is so much more important during times of change. And our second C is change. There will be weather out there at sea, and while our destination won't change, our strategy and our tactics may. Now, sometimes the path to success requires that we stop doing something and relearn a new way of doing something. In effect, going backward before we go forward again. If the winds become unfavorable, we tack. Now, a lot of organizations can't handle this idea of potentially going off track to get on track. A performing arts colleague from the UK, a gentleman by the name of Mark, says the idea of rehearsal, of experimentation, of play does not exist in so many organizations outside of the performing arts. Mark told me that at one point in his professional dancing career, his coach told him he needed to learn how to breathe. To which Mark said, "Thank you very much, I think I know how to breathe." Well, what he needed to do was learn how to breathe properly. For 1 full year, his practice was off, his dance competitions were off, and he didn't start winning until he actually got the hang of it. As Mark told me, you can't make meaningful change that bends the curve if you don't experiment. You are destined to incremental innovation along the curve, but you won't actually change the curve. Jeff Bezos, in a 2019 letter to shareholders, wrote, "If the size of your failures isn't actually growing, you're not going to be inventing at a size that can move the needle." So, how do we go about managing change? Well, the first tip is prepare to be wrong. Take Satya's advice. Experimentation means not getting it right. So go from know-it-all to learn-it-all. My very favorite is delete something first to make way for the new thing. Your teams get overwhelmed when we start talking about all these fabulous innovations, and so often they need help reprioritizing. Very importantly, change before you have to. Avoid crisis-driven change. There's a healthcare company in Pennsylvania who adopted telehealth way ahead of COVID, and they did very beautifully during the pandemic. And finally, recognize that organizational change invokes questions in people's minds. Questions like, what does this mean to me? What happens to my role? Will I be better off or not? I usually start by telling my team what's not changing. That settles people down, it keeps them grounded, and now we can operate from a place of exploring every day the things that are changing. Now, at sea, dolphins are a sign of good luck. And our third C is chance. I'm sure that many in the room have heard of the investment golden ratio, 70-20-10. So this was famously popularized by Sergey Brin of Google because he showed us that the 10% that he invested in innovation actually resulted in 70% growth, revenue growth, 5 years later in the company. Now, in addition to investing in the financial side of chance, I want you to think about investing in your teams. Consider the story of Ecolabs, a 150-year-old sustainability company, hardly a startup. They have 350,000 field reps around the globe, 3,500 in the US, and during COVID, we can all remember that we were standing in long queues for just about everything. Well, the Ecolab engineers saw the same thing. Individuals lined up outside of hospitals waiting to enter. They found out that an important component of what was slowing things down was the speed by which sanitizing sprays were drying. Armed with this information, they went back to engineering and they demanded a faster drying spray. Within weeks, they had it, And not only were people getting into the hospital much faster, but Ecolabs created a better revenue stream, new revenue stream, clearly a win-win. The fourth and my favorite C is customer. We talked about that a little bit in the last session. And understanding your customer is always a top priority, we agree. However, I would like to tell you that so many companies that I work with that think they're putting the customer first are actually practicing inside-out thinking that's having the opposite effect. I'm going to share a cautionary tale of IBM's Watson Health, where I was general manager of life sciences, charged with turning the failing business unit around. Now, prior to my getting there, you recall the supercomputer Watson that was famously in the Jeopardy game. Very, very popular story. Well, after that success, Watson Health was formed, and the team decided that they were going to apply Watson to a number of healthcare scenarios, including cancer diagnostics. MD Anderson, which is a very well-known cancer center in Texas, sunk $62 million into the co-creation with Watson Health of a cancer diagnostic. Now, you might be sitting in the room thinking to yourself, I don't know about this cancer diagnostic. Well, you don't know about the cancer diagnostic because it didn't work. Why didn't it work? A huge company like IBM, they failed to truly understand MD Anderson's workflows, the processes, the kind of data sets that they had, and importantly, they underestimated the advanced analytics and AI that was necessary to develop a predictive model. Don't let this happen to you. It's a clear story of what happens when ambition and a lack of understanding of the customer outpaces execution. So be able to articulate your customer's pain points, understand how they work, why they do what they do, and importantly, be realistic about your capabilities. We're talking a lot about the future, and we have a lot of steps to get there. So we have to be honest about our capabilities and what it is we can truly deliver. And our final C is collaborate, because nobody wants to go it alone. And in business, collaboration is not defined as who's getting along with whom. I can remember when that was like one of the little cards on the cafeteria table, collaboration. It's a strategic imperative. And collaboration can drive exponential growth when business lines, service functions, various stakeholders come together around the customer, around a common set of goals and objectives, and create solutions that really make a difference. I want to share a brief story of Terry and how she collaborated with external stakeholders while at AMD. Now, Terry joined AMD, the big chip data center manufacturer, that was destined to lead a sales team focused on building a 64-bit chip to sell to IBM for servers. But, and this is a very big but, at the time there was no 64-bit operating system. What happened next was a master class in architecting a complex network of partnerships and building an industry. As Terry said, we had a next generation 64-bit chip, but limited demand. We were way ahead of the market with this product. The only way to sell these new chips was to generate demand. The only way to generate demand was to incentivize the giant software companies to make an operating system that needed a faster chip. Terry worked with a small set of partners, Microsoft, Red Hat, German-owned SUSE, to accelerate their development of an operating system that needed the 64-bit chip to run. The result of Terry's successful endeavor? Well, AMD stock quintupled as they gained market share from Intel until Intel released its 64-bit chip 18 months later. As Terry reflected on this success, she pointed out how in a highly technical field like software development, no one person can know everything, no one company can dominate the market. You can't go it alone. Success comes from working together to solve common problems and create better products for everyone. I just want to comment that on Monday, you probably heard the news about the partnership between NVIDIA and Microsoft, set to be a game changer because of NVIDIA's compute power and Microsoft's vast network. So choosing the right partner for your journey is key to reaching your destination, and collaborating with the crew who knows how to navigate the stormy seas will help you accelerate when the winds are favorable. So as I close here, I just challenge you all to be courageous, to seek out the dragons, to steer toward a learning culture, which means that you need to be the leaders of innovation within your organization. Take that opportunity to experiment and make it safe. Pivot when we need to. The territory is, the map is not the territory, so know when you need to make adjustments, tack and go forward. Leave room for chance. Please invest in the resources to innovate, the people that need to innovate. Know your customer outside in, and make sure that you take time to collaborate along the way. I'd like to thank you for your time. And as Alan said, if you're interested in some of the concepts that I reviewed, a lot of these are case studies and stories in my book, No Fear, No Failure. I'll be outside. If you'd like to pre-order, I'd be more than happy to give you a signed copy of The Innovation Mindset in exchange for that. So thank you.
Well, she and I shared an interesting connection. Those of you who've been in this area for more than a few years, when I was reading her book, I saw a reference to Hot Chops. Who in this room, raise your hand if you know what Hot Chops was. Right. For those of you who don't know, Hot Chops was the predecessor of one of the biggest companies in this area, the biggest in the hotel room industry, Marriott. No. Anyway, let me just give you one additional factor, and then we're going to break. Another factor, and I would say use it as you see fit. I was recently reading stories about two guys, one who was at sea for 438 days. And some of you probably saw the movie Castaways with Tom Hanks. Just sort of amazing. So there is a lot within you, the resilience. Some would call it faith, whatever it is. I'm not going to advocate for any religion, but it's amazing what people can do when they put their mind, their heart, and their soul into something. And that's why we're so happy to have all of you here today. So enjoy your break. We will see you soon. And lunch will be in an hour, but we have another session coming up. So enjoy yourselves. Thank you.